If today there was a rule that everybody, if to, if today there was a rule that everybody had a chance to try out for the NBA, and not only that, but there were going to be some selected not based upon whether or not they're qualified for the NBA, but because they have protested, they have legislated, and basically forced the NBA into accepting, at least a group of people who are not qualified, those group of individuals would not be stepping into something that is a blessing, but instead a curse. Those individuals would be set up for failure, absolute, heartbreaking, miserable, damn near detestable sort of failure, embarrassment in the public eye. You would have a bunch of 5 foot nothings, me and my little posse of bandits, stepping onto those NBA courts and being destroyed off the basis that we are not made equal in the same way that individual is. We may be made equal as human beings. We may have the same intrinsic value, the same intrinsic worth. But when it comes to the skill sets or the giftings that that individual has, they are complete opposite to what we may have. And this is what we have done within this quote unquote system of inclusion, right? Diversity, equity, inclusion. It sounds so sweet to the ear. It sounds so inviting. It sounds so caring. It sounds as if it is truly made for the benefit and the greater benefit of the individual who is being included, of the diversity that is being welcomed, of the equity that is being manufactured, when in truth it is setting people up for greater failure. It is deepening the wound of insecurity and inadequacy. When that child, who is an average student throughout their education, getting C's and B's, I didn't say they're an average human, right? I simply said they're an average student. When that individual gets pushed up into the quote unquote higher education system simply because we need more people who have the same amount of melanin as you do, or we don't want it to seem as if we're unfair because we don't have enough of a certain people, so they make a position for you, oftentimes kicking out the one who is actually qualified for the position, because there are limited positions within this system, right? So we're going to push you up, and instead of being the average C to B student, you now become a failing student. You now become a student who is struggling, who is quite literally facing their very own inadequacy every single day when they're receiving their paper back from that lecture. And their professor might pat them on the back, they might coddle them, they might sweet talk them. But no matter what they say, they're always going to see the reflection of, I'm not made for this. We are setting them up for absolute failure. And this is coming from a guy who grew up in, or born and raised in, a country where there was more than 90% of the population that looked the same. Black, right? So if we got down to this thing of diversity, diversity in a country where almost everybody is the same, most would think, oh, that couldn't exist. You can't have diversity because everybody's the same. No, that's what we got twisted. Diversity exists in the human genome, in our population, regardless of what the skin color looks like. We've made it superficial and skin deep. True diversity is supposed to be a diversity of thought. True diversity is supposed to be a diversity of skill sets. Individuals who can do different things, who have different levels of ability in what they do. And instead of trying to fit, a puzzle piece from another puzzle into this puzzle, we find the pieces for this one and fill the puzzle out. Instead of trying to fit a round peg in a square hole, we get the square peg. It's really that simple. But instead, because we've fallen for the propaganda, we become so afraid of being offensive that we can't face the reality that not everybody's created the same. All are created equal as far as equal level of value, intrinsic worth and value as a human being. I stand on that, and I will forever stand on that. But if you are somebody who has spent your life laying on a couch eating potato chips, you don't deserve to have what the individual who's been working their butt off deserves to have. I'm sorry. I don't have any other story for you. There is nothing that is going to make me believe, no matter what happened to your ancestors and their ancestors' ancestors, there is nothing that is going to persuade me to believe that you, who was doing this much, deserves as much as the one who was doing that much. The person who is perpetually putting value into the world, solving these huge problems. You know, I hear people talk about Elon Musk and how he simply does not deserve what he has. First and foremost, this man has the true story of an African American, right? Born in South Africa. And again, I lived in South Africa for 5 years, so I know what it's like there. And, being white on top of that in this majoritively black population who is very hostile towards white people, just again, due to the environment at the time, due to the politics at the time, it was what it was. This kid who was, faced a lot of abuse within the household as far as his father was concerned, who was bullied, etc. He went through a lot, right? Went through levels of poverty that most would not be able to comprehend as far as his environment, because he grew up in a country that's now considered a developing nation, right? There was a lot going on there. And somehow he was able to get out those trenches and to devote himself so deeply into his work, to the point where, he lost relationships, he lost this and that, because he was just so given over to what he was doing. And he has never put his foot off the pedal. He's never put his foot off the gas. He has continued to innovate, create. And yet people have the audacity, because he has a different skin color, to say that he is just privileged. The reason why Elon Musk is because he's white. That is so damn ridiculous. The reason is because he leaned into the things that he was made for. If he spent a lifetime trying to become a speaker, right? A public speaker, that would have shown you the reality that not all are created the same. All equal, but not the same. That was not going to be his gifting. That was not going to be his tendency. That's not what he was here for. He was here to solve engineering problems. And there are those who are very much made for that, or made for multitudes of things, but we're trying to fit them into a narrative for our own agenda and our own purpose, or not our agenda, but their agenda, right? This woke agenda, this woke ideology that has been created. And some offended off the word woke. I don't understand why, when that word came from, this group of individuals who are seeing themselves as the ones who are awake to this truth of the ills of the world and the systems and injustices, and, how nothing is fair for the people who are of specific demographics and population. And there's this one population who just has everything easy because of their complexion, right? So I'm just using the verbiage that was used by them. And now it's become quote unquote derogatory, because, you no longer like the fact that it's being called out for exactly what it is. It's an ideology. It's a religion. It's a cultish sort of temperament, where you're trying to force beliefs onto others. If I went to the NBA and, again, protested, complained, and I legislated law that there should be at least one team in the NBA who is not qualified to be in the NBA, but must be due to these specific stipulations, it don't matter what we do. Every season we're losing 82 games. Every single season we will lose 82 games because we're not qualified for that field. And this is what's happening with these kids who are being thrown into quote unquote higher education. Much of it has actually become the system of miseducation. They're not being taught how to learn. They're being taught what to say, believe, what to think. Not to think for themselves, but what to think. What is right and wrong, and not based upon reality, but based upon emotionality. This is why I don't believe in this facade of equity, of diversity and inclusion, or DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. I don't. Because the entire premise is flawed. You're trying to force something that does not exist. How can I, as somebody who every single day I'm showing up, right? I'm showing up here creating this content. Why should I have the very same outcome as somebody who's not? They'll explain that to me. Or vice versa. Somebody who is managing their money wisely. Why should I have the same financial the same financial outcomes if I'm doing the complete opposite? Why should I? Why do I deserve? Oh, because I'm black, right? Oh, because you're black, it's unfair. There's just these systems in the way. The only system that's in the way of anything is the belief system that I hold. If I have the belief system that I cannot or I do not deserve or whatever else it may be, that's the problem. And if we truly want to help anybody, we need to start shifting the belief systems. But oh no, we don't want to do that, because God forbid personal responsibility. God forbid that. No. Now, it's much easier to just continue to point to some, system that is out there, some big machine that is just operating and working against a specific demographic or specific groups of people and is working to serve the others, even though the others are going through the very same human struggles, the very same, some of them even worse off. I done heard some of these folks' stories and I'm like, damn, I have black privilege. That's what I got, because what you're going through, I grew up in Africa, and you tell me you went through what and who and absolutely not. I was privileged. I was damn near Fresh Prince of Bel-Air in comparison to you. Out of West Philadelphia, might have been born and raised on the playground where I spent most of my days. Absolutely not. I would not trade lives with you no matter what. I am thankful for what I got. And that is the missing equation. And all of it is like, we're missing the fact that we are all privileged. We all have such great opportunity. If you're watching this right now, you're watching it on a device that is literally allowing you to have all the information that has probably ever existed in the last, probably since the beginning of human time. Let's be fair, right? You have access to endless amounts of information. You can quite literally change your life based upon this device that you're using right now.
I used to be afraid of the dark, place unknown like a hardening heart. I used to see my life in the bar. Now the kids unchained, every shackle is lost. 2 steps in the moonlight, 2 step in the daytime. You just know when it feel right. You got a feeling the time's not. See you through those shades that I just threw on. Through my lenses, you just can't do no wrong. I fell in love with myself again. I fell in love with myself. I fell in love with the sunshine. I fell in love with the light. I fell in love with the full moon.